Hey guys, welcome to the final episode for the Jack and the Beanstalk portfolio redesign. And today I'm working on the Giant's Castle. Now, just kind of a little bit of a disclaimer. Honestly, buildings and sceneries are not my strong suit. It is something that I really want to improve on and get better at. So I pushed myself to make one for my portfolio and, use it as a practice opportunity. I don't know. When I was younger, there was those architecture kits and I was pretty set. I thought for sure I was going to become an architect when I get older because I love designing buildings and I love all the tycoon games. I love building stuff and doing the little architecture kits. But, when it comes to drawing full-scale buildings, not as much. It's still a little hard for me. Even in my comic, it's been a little hard to fill the backgrounds. Other backgrounds I'm okay at, like Foliage, I still need to get better at painting. I'm slowly learning. I'm, observing some different techniques on how to paint foliage and bushes and trees and such, and I just keep practicing it. I know it's not to the level I want yet or even perfect yet, but I'm like, you know what, this is where I am right now. I'm just gonna keep trying and keep practicing, and I shouldn't completely avoid it just because I can't draw it just yet. So that's the case with these. I wanted to draw it for practice, and then I felt it was a pretty important component to the portfolio. I wanted to make sure I could be see, here is the castle that the Giant's in, because it's a pretty key place in the story. I think it's one of the most important buildings, obviously, in the story. So, yeah. Oh, and then right there, I did a little bit of a trick when it came to the perspective, because when it was just flat and straight on, it still looked like it was kind of too small of a building, and it didn't really give it the perspective it needed. So then what I did was I did the transform tool and made it look like it was going up and back into space as it went further up, and angled it so then it looked like it was a much bigger building. Kind of like at Disneyland, if you look at the castle is actually, it looks bigger because it's kind of a forced perspective. The top of the tower is really a lot smaller than it would be if it was the actual full-size castle, but basically how it is they structure it so it looks like it's a lot taller just because things are getting smaller, so then your eye is kind of forced into that perspective. I learned that from my buddy Chad, and I thought that was pretty cool. I actually never knew that, so I kind of did the same thing with the building. And where I am right now, I had a lot of fun doing all the little detailing. I looked at a bunch, so many Indonesian temples and ruins and so many buildings, and I just loved all the little details that they had in different stone carvings and woodworks, and they're such gorgeous buildings. One of these days I would love to actually go to Indonesia. That would be amazing, because between the buildings and just the scenery in general, it just looks gorgeous there, and all the plants and green that are there compared to the brown Arizona here. I know that was actually something when I went to Japan in high school, because I went for people-to-people student ambassadors for a 2-week program. That was one of the first thoughts I had when getting off the plane, because I think around then I hadn't traveled to a lot of other places outside of Arizona. I've been to New York and New Hampshire, and I can't remember, Washington, D.C., and a couple other places over there on the East Coast. But besides that, I haven't really traveled too much outside of Arizona and California. Oh, and I've been to Texas. But anyway, that's not the point. So when I got off the plane in Japan, I think it was really funny because I was ridiculously jet lagged. I didn't sleep for that entire flight. Everyone else in my group slept, except me, and I couldn't sleep. I tried so hard. I don't know if it was a mixture of the excitement or just because I was on a plane flying over the ocean that my anxieties kicked in, or just because I was on a plane, I couldn't sleep. So I was kind of a little loopy. So we landed and I'm like, oh my God, guys, it's so green. And we were traveling with a group from Nevada and they just like lost their minds because, you know, there they at least have trees and like probably better scenery. But here in Arizona, it's mostly dirt and cactus. And then we have like pine trees. I mean, if you go up north, it's a little more green. But I mean, this was like lush green, like nice deep and bright greens compared to Arizona, which is more like, I guess there are bright greens here, but in the valley where it's a desert, we don't really have like lush greenery everywhere. So I remember when we landed, I just like lost my mind and I was just looking at all the plants. Like I just thought it was so pretty and gorgeous, and I was just totally mesmerized by how green everything was. So yeah, when I was doing research for the castle here, I just saw like all this amazing scenery from Indonesia and all their plants and all this other stuff, and it just, I'd love to go. It just looks so pretty. So yeah, let me actually talk about the drawing. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. So it looks like I basically finished up the line art. There's a lot of detailing in there. You probably saw I put some like pillars and like undersides of the roofs and added roofs, and then just to save on time and, you know, make it look clean and professional, I duplicated the lines. Like I only went to the middle, and then I reflected it and then merged them together, connected some lines that weren't connected in the middle, and then I went on either side and made some changes and differences. Like certain parts have chunks of rocks taken out of them, or they have like different wear marks in different areas, just so it added a little bit of variety here and there. And then I went through and I've been doing, like, I was experimenting with a couple different colors because I was looking at about 4 different Indonesian buildings when painting this, and there's so many different colors and options, especially for the rock work. Because some rocks were more in the tans and others were in the grays, and then some were like really dark. So it just kind of depended between, I guess, which building I was looking at and trying to decide what colors looked better together. So I was just playing around with that and trying out some different colors. And it looks like I did put some clouds in, since the castle does rest in a cloud, or on a cloud, when Jack climbs the beanstalk. And I should have put the beanstalk somewhere in the foreground, or some like vines with the lychee seeds and berries on it. I should have thought of that. Well, too late now. Yeah, I'm running out of things to talk about. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, so I'm playing with a couple different browns and reds. Like, I knew I wanted this to be kind of on the brighter side of colors, but I didn't want to make it kind of ridiculous, or just over bright, because I was imagining it being kind of rustic looking, but also still having some ornamentation and colors and different patterns and things on it. And I just didn't want to overdo it. So it was kind of just, I kept working around the whole castle and trying to figure out what parts should have some colors and what parts shouldn't, and figuring out what goes back in space and whatnot. Like this part, I was doing the shading and trying to make that door look like it went back a little bit more, and the pillars were a little bit closer. I think I should have pushed those darks a little more. Yeah, now I see it after I already submit my portfolio and all that. There's a couple things I probably would have changed, and updated a few things around it, but nothing too big. Oh, and then here I'm adding some vines that I was experimenting with. It's kind of a different look than I'm used to, but I really like how it turned out. And then I was struggling with how I wanted to draw or paint the plants. Like I said, foliage isn't my strong suit. Like, I can draw plants. Like, if I was to just do a line art, I feel I'm fine with that. But yeah, I'm not very good at line arts for trees. Yeah, because I get kind of fed up with all the different leaves. but bushes and other smaller plants, I've done pretty decent line arts. But when I go to color, I don't know. I haven't practiced it enough. Like, I know I need to practice it more, but I still am trying to find, I guess, what my painting style is when it comes to trees and bushes and such, because there's so many different ways to do it. You could do it like the way where you line art the whole thing and then color it in, more cell shaded, or even like paint it but it still has the line art, or you go for the 100% painterly look. I don't know, there's a lot of options when it comes to painting plants, so I just need to find which one I like and kind of run with it. But to do that, I gotta practice it, and I know that's one of the things that I'm just gonna have to develop over time. It's not gonna be a quick, easy fix, because sometimes I draw plants and they turn out great and I love how they look. But then other times I draw plants and they look terrible. So I think this piece in particular was kind of an in-between, because I liked certain things, but at the same time I didn't like certain things. Oh yeah, and so I had been working on this piece literally for a whole day. I woke up in the morning and just chugged away at this. So towards the end, when I was putting Jack in to put to scale, I was like, you know what? I have been working on this. I think this piece took me at least 8 to 12 hours. I don't even know. It took so long. So towards the end of it, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna take the picture of Jack that I already had, put it in, and repaint it and scale it. So, I mean, he's teeny anyway, so it's not as obvious, but here's the final castle. Overall, I do like how it came out. I kind of wish I pushed some of the darks a little bit more in some areas, but it still looks nice. So thanks again for stopping by, guys, and checking out the video. If you want to see the other 2 parts, there'll be a link here, and then this is going to be the last for the Jack and the Beanstalk redesign. Maybe I'll do another story in the future. But if you guys want to check out more of my art, you can hit the subscribe button. If you like this, you can hit the like button. And I will see you guys next Friday for another art video. Bye, guys.